Hi, it's AG. I wanted to talk about self-centeredness in literature written by people of color. I just thought about this last night and wanted to talk about it. What actually prompted me was that last month I read the novel Kokoro by Natsume Soseki, and I was really interested in the ideas that he played with in the book, particularly the sentiments or atmosphere within the Japanese society during the Meiji era, which also was the era that covered most of his own life. To give you a short history lesson, the Meiji era started in the second half of the 19th century, around the same time that Japan opened its borders to foreigners. The previous 200 years, Japan had isolated itself in an effort to achieve both political and social stability. When the borders opened, Japan was both immediately and forcefully hit by Western society and culture, which had long-lasting consequences, not all positive. End of the history lesson. So like I said, I read Kokoro, and by sheer coincidence, yesterday I found this essay written by Natsume called Watashi no Koujin Shugi, My Individualism. In it, he talks about how he became a writer and what his aspirations were. He mentions how he early in life felt incredibly lost and lacking of a strong sense of individuality. He notes, "At long last I saw that I had been no better than a rootless floating weed, drifting aimlessly and wholly centered on others." Here, by others, he's mainly referring to Westerners. He mentions how this centrality on Westerners wasn't something out of the ordinary. "In my day, it was even worse. Attribute something, anything, to a Westerner, and people would follow it blindly, acting meanwhile as though it made them very important." The feeling of a lack of individuality caused Natsume a lot of anxiety. That was until he came to the realization of the need of self-centeredness. Self-centeredness became for me a new beginning, I confess, and it helped me to find what I thought would be my life's work. I resolved to write books, to tell people that they need not imitate Westerners, that running blindly after others as they were doing would only cause them great anxiety. And that passage strongly reminded me of Toni Morrison. I've watched a lot of her interviews and seen other authors that have been inspired by her talk about her. And one thing that almost always gets mentioned when someone talks about Morrison is how her work was centered around Black people and how revolutionary that was at the time. So much so that she even got questioned when she would start writing about white people, as if centering a story around a Black person holds less merit or is of a lower intricacy. I stood at the border, stood at the edge, and claimed it as central. I claimed it as central and let the rest of the world move over to where I was. That literally gave me chills. I think it would be very cool to see in what similar and different ways taking a marginalized group into the center of a narrative can be expressed. Another great example is Zora Neale Hurston, who's known for using African American vernacular in her work. Despite the criticism of it lowering the quality of her literature, she remained adamant in keeping this in her work, even refusing the requests of publishers to adapt the language to make it more appealing for the white readership. One thing that I also think is very interesting about self-centeredness is that if you look at the most influential writers who are people of color, you'll see that a lot of their writings have a very strong sense of self-centeredness. I mean, think about people such as James Baldwin or Chinua Achebe. But yeah, I would love to talk about this topic more extensively in the future, because as of now, I definitely am not adequately knowledgeable to really dive in deep. But now that I'm really gearing myself to read more widely, I'm sure I'll be able to find more occurrences of this and will be able to ramble even longer about this topic. Either way, if you made it this far into this video, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in another video.